Guten Tag and hello. Welcome to the Resistance broadcast, everybody, where it turns out Germany, Disney Plus, is the ultimate scooper for Star Wars news.
For themselves.
Right. For themselves. They're the leakers. I mean, I guess
Saboteur.
Yeah, are they their own leakers? Or do you think it's just some German guy over there didn't get the memo from Disney? Like, no, we don't want people to know that Rosario Dawson is in our show yet.
They probably don't care.
And they're like, Guten Tag. Like, come on. We're Guten and Tagen over here. So we're going to talk about it. So I'm John, by the way. How's everybody going? How's everybody doing?
People in Germany are like, and I'm turning this off.
They're like, ooh, they got a translator. James and Lacey with me as always. Monday show, talking about the Star Wars news, what's going on. And that'll make a little more sense a little bit later. But what's going on with you guys before we get into it? How's things?
Life
Thanks
is
for having
life.
me. Yeah.
James is always ooh, same.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I ever like ride the roller coaster of life or
My life is like King Cod, New Jersey's just Six Flags.
Yeah. I don't know.
My life
I've been doing a lot of walking.
Shoots you up real fast. You might make over the curve or you might go right back down.
You've been doing a lot of walking, James? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Do you have like a neighborhood, a very walkable neighborhood?
I don't know what that means.
Like not a lot of traffic,
cul-de-sac?
no double yellow line roads.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Yeah, I would say that.
All right.
Are you in the neighborhood watch?
No.
I could see
I'm not
James
walking
being
to like
secretly
protect people.
James is secretly the head of his neighborhood watch.
No, in fact, I often think that like there isn't enough neighborhood participation.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Isn't there like a social media app that you can like report on your neighbors?
I'm
I forget
sure.
what it's called. I
think
forget what
so.
it's called. It's something. It's got a green logo, but like people are like, someone left trash at the end of the street today, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like the Yelp review for your neighbors.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. I forget what it's
so
called.
weird
Someone in the
because-
comments put it in there because someone that listens
Someone
is
has
definitely
it?
on that app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either I'm a pretty good homeowner or that app doesn't work. Because if I, you know what I mean? Like if I suck as a person, then that app isn't getting to me.
Well, I
see
know
what I'm
one
saying?
neighbor that thinks I suck. At least one.
You know what doesn't suck, guys? The Make Solo 2 Happen pin.
Oh yeah.
I finally got mine.
Did you cry?
I did not cry, but I knew it was it because I got the thing from Teespring and it's this tiny envelope.
Sure.
You know, I'm like, oh, that's got to be it. So when I opened it up, I was just like, we made this. You know, it's just it's so cool.
Yeah.
But I still don't know where to put it, so I'm probably gonna just like keep it around Chewy and maybe like pose it around places. But it's good that you can always pop it on and off and put different places. But so if you haven't gotten yours yet, go to teespring.com/makesolo2happenpin. That's all you got to do, and pick yours up. And because the bubble of social media, like Make Solo 2 Happen, has proven it can take down social media without question. But we got to get outside the walls, and you got to spread the word with the t-shirts and the pins, so people are like, when they see it, they're like, whoa, yo, yeah, I like that movie. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And that's just another way to do it. And every once in a while you run into a Disney executive, and they're like, ooh, I like that.
And it just happens to be at a Disney event. Like, who would have thought?
Yeah. What are you doing here, Michelle Rejwan? Don't you have better things to do than be at your own events? Come on. All right, so why don't we get into that little segment we like to call the Resistance Report.
It's the Resistance.
Not a whole lot going on this week, but a couple fun things that are going to be, I guess that's the best way to put them, is all these things seem like they're under the category of like fun, nothing like super important or game-changing or anything along those lines. We are going to start off just with a little bit of kind of a little more, I would say, confirmation on the worst kept secret revolving around the Mandalorian. And that's what John was alluding to earlier, that Disney Plus Germany, their like official Disney Plus account, put up a Instagram story that was had some talking and some narration and stuff, and it seemingly confirmed that Rosario Dawson Timothy Olyphant, and there was another one too, but I think we already knew who that was.
Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks, was going to be involved in the show, and it's gone now because Instagram stories disappear. But obviously, this came out and everybody kind of looked to it for confirmation that she is officially in the show, although United States still hasn't done it. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. Lacey, I'm going to go first with you on this one. What did you think about this? I mean, do you believe it? Do you think it was a mistake? Do you think what's going on with this?
I appreciate that you're going to me first. However, I want to hear from John first because he did the Ahsoka story. So I wanted to know what he thought.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's as close as the confirmation that Ahsoka is going to be in the show now as it gets, other than seeing her, because Rosario Dawson was tied to Ahsoka. Like they've said everything. They've said Ahsoka's in the show without literally saying Ahsoka's in the show at this point. So now everyone who knows is dialed in at all to Star Wars news or even just Disney Plus. Like if you're just a fan and you're on Disney Plus and you catch wind of this story, you're like, oh wow, Rosario Dawson's going to be in The Mandalorian. Do you hear about that? Oh, I wonder who she's going to play. And then people are like, oh, I heard she's this character. So it's all there now. So the surprise, the whole like, oh, I don't want to hear it. It's done. That's done. Like Ahsoka Tano is in the show. This is confirmation. And then we can get into in the next story why, where we think she's going to pop up based on who's writing what. But I'll leave that for now. But then the Timothy Olyphant thing I find even more interesting because that was the one that was still fringe to me because it was only the one trade that said he was going to be in the show. And there's a lot of speculation that he's going to be Cobb Vanth, who's going to be the guy rolling with Boba Fett's armor. So, it's very interesting to me because I'm a fan of his too. So I think that might have excited me more on this official. Why am I putting it in quotes? It's an official confirmation that they're in the show because I kind of already knew that Rosario was going to be in the show. Not just based on my report from earlier in the year, but just all these stories that have been coming out. Like where there's smoke, there's fire, and hopefully that's the case with all these solo rumors. But yeah, I don't know. It's exciting. It's nice confirmation, but it's also kind of one of those things like we're not talking about a show that's coming out in, spring 2022 here. This show is what's today's date?
15 days away.
15 days away. So in 2 weeks, we're going to start seeing these characters pop up. Well, possibly. Maybe they're, a few weeks out. But I mean, it's right around the corner. So right now, I mean, they could drop the full cast list if they wanted to, and it's not really a big deal, but it's nice to get those confirmations. I think it's...
I lied, 18 days away.
I was going to say, it's a little bit longer, but yeah.
I'm so
18 days, so today's the 12th. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Because we're podcasting on the 12th.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm with you. I'm like, this Rosario Dawson thing, but
how do you feel about Ahsoka, James?
Being in the show?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think we've kind of talked about it. What I really quick though is, what if she's not Ahsoka? It's just like, I mean, like John, you're saying like it's all but confirmed, but it's like it isn't.
Rosario Dawson playing Princess Leia. What?
I mean, Rosario Dawson playing anybody else, or the pretty good chance that she's playing a character that we're pretty sure is going to show up in the show. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, but that I think everybody looks at that and goes, oh, interesting. Okay, well, that's even more confirmation on top of it. It's 99.7 now. It's supposed to, it's 99.6 before or whatever. So it's just that's interesting. But the Timothy Olyphant thing, I think, is where the discussion is probably most likely needs to be. Lacey, what do you think?
Well, as John has said previously, 100%. This would be 110%.
That's true.
Happening.
100%.
100%.
And I was like,
okay.
Yes,
you did.
100%.
No,
I even tried to get you. I was like, John, nothing in life is 100%. You were like, 100%.
Now we got.
I was like,
was that on the podcast or Patreon?
Oh, I don't know.
Now we got to isolate that.
I just know 100%. Anyway, what do I feel about it? Stuff like this, as someone that has a career or had a career-ish at times in social media professionally. It gives me anxiety because you see that and you're like, okay, were they supposed to schedule that? Did they select the wrong date in Hootsuite? Like, was that supposed to go out a month from now? Like, did they select the wrong thing, the wrong time? Did they get the wrong direction? Because that's the crazy thing about doing social media professionally, is the smallest mistake that you make on your own channels. Imagine making that on a bigger stage, like a Disney account. Like a typo or the wrong link out, or you tweet something early, or you're off or anything like that, which, you know, there have been times where I've made mistakes myself, and it's the worst feeling because you're like, oh crap, I got to delete this. But you know someone screenshot it already because people are quick. So I think this is a scenario that probably Disney Germany wasn't really paying attention in the sense of they don't really... I'd assume it's not a big deal, you know? It's just kind of like, okay, these are the actors that are in the show, and they put it up there.
I agree with that.
And then they get a call, you know, Bob Iger gets on the phone. He's like, yo, what are you doing over there?
Like, Guten Tag, what's going on?
and there still exists the other thing, too, with the Tamara Morrison thing, too.
Sure.
He also put up information that he was in the show, and then it was later, like, taken down. So
again, it could be a coordinator somewhere that's been told by someone who's been told by someone, like, hey, put this up, but not given proper direction, or just do it too early.
Did you hear the audio on it?
Yeah.
I didn't listen to it.
It sounded like I pictured the way the audio was. It had almost like a theater echo to it. It almost reminded me of like what people sound like when they do TED Talks.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely had a presentation thing. Like I when I first clicked on it, I was like, hold on, wait a second, there's something else playing. Yeah. Like that is how it felt.
And like a meeting recording, like a webinar?
It was clear. It was very clear.
No. Oh. It felt like a presentation. Yeah. So it felt like there was a private presentation somewhere, and they used the audio from that to cut up and place it over this.
Yeah. Could you imagine? It's Bob Iger giving an internal presentation with all these watermarks all over it, being like, do not share externally. And Germany's like, let's just take a soundbite from this.
Right.
Just put it.
And you know what's weird? I don't know if this is a thing that is a tell either, Lacey, being that you've handled that type of stuff. But along with the audio, they transcribed it in German in text. So someone also was typing out what the guy was saying as though it was
someone
the
had
script.
to transcribe it.
So he wasn't going
transcribed stuff. It's miserable.
Yeah, he wasn't going off script or anything. He was saying, and they were following along exactly what he was saying.
So the question is, who was the person talking? Dun, dun, dun.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe if you... I don't know, maybe you would know. Like if a German person like heard the voice, they'd be like, "Oh, I know that. That's famous German celebrity. He's in all the Disney stuff."
And this isn't the first time like a foreign official
presentation has gone out. Like a French one came out last year at some time with Rise of Skywalker stuff in it.
That's what I mean. Like Japan, like a lot of these official accounts that are international based for Star Wars, like get ahead of the game. And like that's all, Star Wars Newsnet and a lot of all these other sites are always like looking for those outlets because they're putting out things that we don't see, or they're getting a different cut of a trailer, or they're getting
toy stuff. They upload stuff early. Books get uploaded early.
And I think a part of that could be to try to market more to the international audience. They're like, look, we know what we're getting out of our core audience here domestically. We gotta get eyes on the screen here. Let's familiarize these people with maybe actors and stuff they know from other things to say, hey, come watch our Star Wars product where you typically don't in this region or something. So I think that's why you get in Japan, in China, in Germany, and all these other places, the tidbits that
there's a lot of Star Wars fans in Germany.
Sure, but I mean,
they held the celebration there.
I know people are going to be like, oh, hey, we watch Star Wars. I know. I'm just saying the returns are way different. We've gone through
Including Chris.
This.
Where's my Han Solo, Chris? He's in Germany.
The international returns on box office are way different.
Belgium.
Than domestic for Star Wars, but they're getting the nuggets that we always want here. Like, oh, I want that. We want that confirmation and stuff. So then we wind up getting it from them because the internet, But I find that to be very interesting that the international accounts are usually ones that are popping these nuggets out there, and I think they're planning on purpose. But it's just very interesting that they still ignore it here. Like they're like, what? We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, the most interesting thing is how secretive it feels here in the U.S. and everywhere else.
Right, yeah.
They're just not acknowledging it. They're not denying it, but they're not saying yes.
They're not putting out their press release that is very similar, but, in English or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Right.
I don't know. It's crazy. The do you guys think that Timothy Olyphant is in fact playing Boba Fett like the trade said, or do you think?
I think he's playing Cobb Vanth. I think people are nailed.
You do think he's doing the Cobb Vanth
I think people
thing?
nailed that, and I think that's
So they're bringing a side character from a book series up.
I like it. I mean, and that would make sense that that's the person who shows up to Fennec Shan's body. Well, we don't know if she's dead, but
Yeah,
She's not dead. They would have shown her face. Or blood or something. They didn't show her really being hurt at all. They had her turned away from the camera. That's like a kind of a camera thing.
I mean, that'd be cool if she was still in the show.
You think she got shot and then stayed in that position long after they left?
You don't know how long it was. I'm just saying, like, usually in filmmaking, when someone gets shot and killed, they'll show the person's face to acknowledge that they're dead. Like when Snoke was in half, they show his face / also him being in half. So when someone is turned away from the camera, yeah, sure, they could be dead, but usually they do that so they have the opening so that they can bring them back.
You know what that means? Holdo could still be alive.
Shut up.
Never saw her face.
Shut up. No, but that's different. You see a big explosion. That's different.
She's also flying through space, and she.
I think I'm onto something.
You guys are jerks.
Admiral Holdo coming back, baby.
Let's go on to the next thing, which is the Mandalorian season 2 writers were officially revealed. Now this story actually came from like the Writers Guild of America website. They were just updating, information that they have on the season 2, and you know how it goes. Just you have to fill out papers and things get published, and it is what it is, right? There's nothing really that they're trying to keep secret here. It's just the first we have come across it. As it turns out, Jon Favreau is writing the majority of the series. He has written episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, episode 6, and episode 8. Episodes 5 and episode 7. 5 is written by Dave Filoni, and episode 7 is written by Rick Famuyiwa. This honestly is very similar to last year's episodes. Episodes 5 was written by Dave Filoni, and then episode 6 was written by a handful of people. It was kind of tossed around, but Rick Famuyiwa was in that mix. So it very similar to last season. John's writing the majority of it, but don't be surprised if episodes 5 and 7 feel a little different, a little offbeat from maybe everything else.
Yeah.
I don't even know who to go to first on this one.
John alluded to some stuff.
Yeah, so go ahead, John. What do you think on this one?
Well, I mean, it's that Favreau consistency that you like. His setup in season 1 worked, so he didn't want to disrupt that too much from the writing standpoint. There has been new directors that are coming in for this season, but he had chapter 5, like you say, chapter 5 Filoni season 1, chapter 6 Rick Famuyiwa season 1, and then he did the rest. And this time it's chapter 13 Dave Filoni, and chapter 15 Rick Famuyiwa, which is 5 and 7. It's like almost the same.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. Just if you move Rick's back to 6 instead of 7, it's the exact same layout.
Right. So
crazy.
I find that interesting. I do like consistency in show writing. We've talked about this on this show, that sometimes with some of our favorite shows, as they go along, the good writers leave.
Or movies.
And
Ryan Johnson, J.J. Abrams.
You okay?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Cough drop. Sometimes, your favorite shows, as the years go on, the good writers leave and they go on to do other things, and the quality falls off. And we don't think we're going to get that with Favreau. We feel like he's going to be there from beginning to end with this series, and maybe not shake things up too much from the narrative writing perspective. But that leads to the speculation. If Ahsoka's coming in, you have Filoni writing chapter 13. Is that the one where we see her appear? Is Favreau confident enough to be like, no, Dave, I'm gonna write Ahsoka's entrance into live action Star Wars. You can write, your chapter, but so I'm pretty sure that's where we're gonna see her pop in, is Filoni's chapter, chapter 13, which is the 5th chapter in. So we're looking at early December. We're gonna see Ahsoka pop up. Maybe some snow on the ground. People are wrapping
110%.
Yeah. So 110%. But yeah, it's good to see, and I'm a huge Favreau guy, so I like the fact that he's bookending another season, and I'm very excited to see what they come up with. But I'm eyeing that chapter 13 as the Ahsoka episode, at least her debut episode. So we'll see how long she's in the show.
Lacey, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with John that it's great that Favreau's doing the majority of the writing. As I jokingly coughed before, I think oftentimes things can get disconnected if the same person isn't writing the story, or at least overseeing the outline of what's going on. And I think that even though there are other people writing episodes of The Mandalorian, you're still going to see consistency, maybe a different voice per se, but I think the story's still going to remain the same. The thing that got really interesting for me was that Rick was doing an episode again, because I think Filoni, for me at least, was like kind of a given that he was going to do a story again because he's been so involved. But Rick doing a story again is really cool because he, in the gallery series, he was very given a lot of time on camera talking about the process and how excited he was working on Star Wars and how much he liked the volume and the whole production timeline of creating things and being a part of everything. So I think, if I was to guess, which I am, I think they're kind of getting Rick ready to do a Star Wars movie. I mean, they have him doing episodes. He's very involved. He said he loves doing it. They spotlight him a lot in the gallery series. He's now writing another episode. I could see them giving him the next Star Wars movie.
To write and direct, you mean, like?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because you have to think, Taika, they had him doing the Star Wars episodes and stuff. And then now he's doing the Star Wars movie. Like, that would be an easy transition with a director and a writer that they've worked with, they know has had success, that making that transition would be more smooth and more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they could be more confident in it because he's worked with them before. It's not like, hey, we're picking this indie director from this random project and throwing him into the big.
And people seem to which one he wrote, the like sci-fi one with Bill Burr and all them?
The Heist. Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
I mean,
he wrote it with someone else, but yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, it was kind of interesting because the teleplay was written by Christopher Yost and Rick Famuyiwa, but the story of that particular episode was written by Christopher Yost. So he was involved with the teleplay, but not necessarily the story of that particular
Whereas now
episode.
This one, he probably wrote it himself.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's
again,
just everything. Yeah.
Right. So again, it seems to me like they're bringing him in to direct. He's taking part in some writing. Now he's writing his own thing. He's directing his own stuff.
What about,
I think it's an easy
show running his
transition.
own series?
That could be true as well. I just think that they're kind of getting him ready and prepared to do his own thing because he's done so much already and everybody likes his stuff. He's amazing. He's so talented, and he really has a passion for being in the Star Wars sandbox, so to speak. So I could see him being announced as the next person.
He brought it up. He was impressive in the gallery in terms of his understanding of
they kept cutting to him a lot.
He was in that a
his
lot.
Whole process.
Yeah. And he understands Star Wars. He's been a long time Star Wars fan too.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. I think one of my big takeaways from him in the gallery specifically was that he said he was so used to doing indie film that it was amazing that he, what could I do on a budget? Like, if you were to give me money and give me tools and give me things like that, like, how much more freedom and creative control could he have over a situation? And on top of that, it reminds me of, like, I'm not saying it's connected, but Kevin Feige always says the difference between, like, a big budget movie and a small budget movie is the budget. Because, but as far as it comes to the creatives, it's just picking the right people who know how to tell a story and know how to direct a movie and all that other stuff, and then giving them more money to accomplish, like, a bigger task. So I don't know. I'm not saying he's connected to the production that Kevin Feige is involved in, but it does kind of seem like a good wave of how movies and things are produced these days. Like, we all agree with Kevin, and then Rick kind of backs up that same idea, and we're like, yeah, yes, it just it feels right, feels good, feels of the times. So I don't know, maybe you are right on that, Lacey. That, I mean, it would be cool. I was a fan of Rick before just because of the one movie. I only know him from the one movie, but I liked it. And I thought that it was really good storytelling and character development, and it was a really interesting thing. But the movie was dope that I saw. And if you guys haven't seen it, it was like today, but like these kids are like really into the 90s. So it was like really interesting, like the clash and how like these kids who act and feel in like they're in this era interact with today's world and still involved in things that are going on today. So it was good. It was good.
Right.
Yeah. The only other thing that I wanted to say about this one that I thought was interesting was the fact that last season episodes 7 and 8, even though they're not, they kind of feel like a number 7 part 1 and number 7 part 2, right? And this one this season will probably not have that, considering episode 7 is the Rick Famuyiwa episode, and that may mean, I mean, maybe it does.
But
maybe
didn't
it does.
Taika do one and then John did the other for 7 and 8?
Well, it was
last?
Deborah
That's
Chow,
a good point.
and then Taika Waititi.
No.
No, writing-wise.
She means writing-wise, but no. Episode 7 and 8 were both Jon Favreau on.
Oh, they were just directed by two different people.
But they were directed by two different people.
The only
right?
writers, the same writers for this season are the writers from last season, the three of them.
Got
and
it.
that Christopher,
Yeah.
Okay.
whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that is it. I think that's pretty much all we can talk about that. Another, like, not huge major story, but just kind of fun to talk about.
Well.
Last thing is the excerpts. What?
Go on.
The excerpts for the 40 stories in from a certain point of view book. This is the Empire Strikes Back version of From a Certain Point of View, and they released small excerpts and images for each of the 40 stories, and they kind of catalog all the different background characters and side stories and other little dips and turns and ups and valleys you can get that were somehow tied into or somehow connected to The Empire Strikes Back. So you're going to see a lot of like stories about that guy in the background who didn't even have a line, but he was standing there watching the event happen and his perspective on how things went down. You're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff. Lacey, I think I feel like it keeps starting with you. It either gets bounced back.
It's because each time you do, and I say, "Don't go to me," and so you keep being like, "Are you gonna go first or what?"
This time,
Yeah, I
please
think
let
so.
Lacey start.
Okay.
Yeah,
the reason I was laughing
Go
though
ahead.
is because you said it's something fun to talk about, and John went, "Well," so I couldn't help but laugh. Anyway, what do I think about this? So I'm gonna be honest, and everyone's gonna hate me for it. I have the point of view book from New York Comic Con, the really pretty sunset one from the 40th anniversary, and it's sitting on my shelf, and I have not touched it. It is a lovely book. It looks wonderful. That one, the one that John has, he's showing on the screen if you want to check it out. I mean, you could just Google it, or you can head over to
our YouTube.
Yeah, just see that he's holding this
I'm
book.
selling my copy for $5 million on eBay.
Yeah, so I have to appreciate what they're doing. So they're bringing 40 different people together to tell 40 different stories with 40 different voices. It gives a lot of people an opportunity to work in Star Wars and be a creator. That's wonderful. The stories themselves, am I crazy about them, or I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to know this? Not necessarily. I think we've had a conversation like this before on the podcast where we talk about like my feeling about Star Wars and like background characters is like there's something to be said when you don't know anything about the background character. And a good example would be when Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni were talking about IG-88. Am I missing it? I'm not messing up. That's the right
No,
one.
that's it. Yeah.
They math numbers. They were talking about his character in Empire Strikes Back and how cool he was because you didn't know anything about him and he just kind of stood there.
Yeah.
And he was so cool. And what they then go on to say is that he was bolted to the floor. He really didn't do anything. He just stood there and like moved his head. So like there's something really fun to say.
I'm still listening, Lacey.
No worries. There's something really fun to say when you know about a character, they're super cool, they look cool, there's something so mysterious about them, kind of like a monster in a monster movie. You can't really see it, but you know it's there.
Right.
And I feel like we've gotten to the point in Star Wars that they're trying to explain every single detail of Star Wars, and it's getting not only a little overwhelming for me, but it's just like, do we need to tell that story? Sure, every little piece and detail in Star Wars has a story, and every character has a story, and every creature and thing has a story. But do we need to tell it? Couldn't there be other things that they could be telling stories about and not the Tauntaun and how it was cut open and sacrificed itself or something? That being said, I love the art. That looks great. The one that kind of interests me, which I'll probably look into, is the A Good Kiss by C.B. Lee, which talks about Leia and Han from a third-person perspective of the guy that walks through them when they're arguing in the base.
Right.
I love that scene in Empire Strikes Back. It's a classic shot for like GIFs and just movies in general where they're like perfectly timed with someone walking in between them. So I think that would be a fun one to read. The one that also caught my eye was the L337 one where they bring her back again to talk about being a part of the Falcon with 2 other droids. And that to me, I was like, oh my gosh, Solo, you know, you get really excited. So that's cool. Other than that, this isn't something that I'm going crazy for. I would be more excited for new stories like High Republic stuff that's coming. There's a couple of those books that I'm excited to read because they're brand new stories with brand new characters. Whereas these stories, I don't know. I don't know if I need to know what the Tauntaun was thinking when Han cut it open. Like, I don't know if I needed to know that. But if people like this, cool. You do your thing. But there's a couple in here I'd read.
Tauntauns think now, so that's good.
Can you do that noise?
Well, then I was going to sacrifice myself, and I was like, oh, I'm going to kill myself for this guy to live. Oh, I'm so sad.
Is that German?
You sound like you're doing that fluffy bunny thing where you shove a bunch of marshmallows in your mouth.
Well, now the Tauntauns think and they can talk and they have feelings and regrets. So now we, instead of the sounds, now we have to actually do dialogue for them. So.
Can you just do the sound like once, like really good?
I don't know about that. John, you clearly love this.
I
It's the
don't.
best thing that ever happened to him.
I am taking a turn to negative town, and I'm not holding back. I think this is bad. I think this is awful content. I have the first book because I was interested in the idea of it, and I think it's. I don't know if it's one of those things where they're like, wow, we can make easy content here by grabbing people we know and being like, here, do you want to write a short story for Star Wars? And put them together. I'm not saying it's easy to produce, not at all. Because I do publishing production. I know that's not easy. I'm just saying, oh, let's make these stories about the popular movies and people will eat it up because we'll call it canon. And then you can have all these little adventures and stuff. And that's part of why I really don't like it is this whole thing. It's like, you can't walk both sides of the line here. You can't be like, this is canon. And then be like, wait, whoa, how can you be so upset about this? It's just fun stories, man. You just take it easy, man. It's like, you can't say this is a part of the whole lore of this story and all this is canon now, and Admiral Ozzel had no idea he was going to be killed by Darth Vader, even though Darth Vader literally says, you have failed me for the last time, as he's choking him. I'm obviously getting angry about it, but I don't like that thing because then you back people into a corner who don't like things. Because on one hand you're like, this is canon, so this is officially part of the story, all these stories are part of it. And then on the other hand, when people are like, man, I don't like this because I feel like you're taking too many liberties here with these stories and making things that really don't fit, and especially with certain characters, which I'll get to in a second. But then it's like, oh, just chill out. They're just fun little stories. It's like, well, then don't make them canon. Mm-hmm. Make them the Freemaker adventures or something, right? And the one that bothers me the most is the Obi-Wan one, where I just had it up. Like it doesn't sound like Obi-Wan at all to me, where the quote is, I had hoped that dying would be enough to untangle me from the Skywalker family's issues. And yet here I am again, Obi-Wan Kenobi, one with the Force, and still the only thing standing between a Skywalker and an impulse decision that could have galactic consequences.
That sounds bitter to me.
I can't. Obi-Wan Kenobi would never. And if that's canon, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi's true thoughts after his death, then he is bitter and regretful that he's been involved and sacrificing himself for Luke and doing all these things for this family, which
doesn't matches up with the movies.
It negates his devotion and promise to Qui-Gon that I will train the boy. Like the whole thing down the line, like that bothers me. I'm sorry, and people are gonna be like, "Well, you're so negative. Like, take it easy." It's like, then don't make it canon.
In A New Hope, he looks very.
Don't give Mackenzie Lee. I'm sorry. Maybe they're a great writer. I've never heard of them before. The responsibility of writing canon Obi-Wan Kenobi, if this is the type of quotes you're going to give to the character. I'm sorry. I don't like this at all. I'm going to be completely negative about it. I'm not buying it. I think it's horrible. I think it's completely terrible, this whole thing.
It does read as someone that kind of just didn't get it.
I'm sorry. That's just my take on it. And people can lash me if they want. I know a lot of people out there are afraid to dislike things because you get thrashed online. Hop on my back then, because this stinks. This whole thing stinks.
Well, I don't know if anybody would be surprised or not, but I tend to lean more with John on this one.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Whew,
I know, because I know that I have said this before, that like I didn't like From a Certain Point of View, the original book, because I felt like a lot of the stories didn't matter, and that at the end of the day they were more for like trivial purposes, in the sense of like, I don't know, it's like saying like, how many gallons of water can a something hold, or something like that. It's like,
sure.
That seems like more like a trivial thing. And that I think that's why I put it under the category of fun. And I think you're right with that. You're acknowledging that too, John. I think the idea here is that they're trying to just be like, well, it's not really like important. It's just like an extra fun little look into that world and just kind of like a side view. But my thing is like, I think the average Star Wars fan really likes the side view. And part of that comes from the fact that probably the most prominent novel, the most recommended, the most beloved novel we have in new canon is Lost Stars. And that takes place alongside the story, and it's following characters that are looking at those situations and kind of in a way having a different reaction to them than maybe the main characters that we follow in the movies do. But and that's why the idea for the book was really cool, From a Certain Point of View. Okay, cool. We're going to see it from a different point of view, and we all bought into it. But when I got through with the book, I felt like a lot of that was a waste of time. Like, because a lot of those stories were more like, we need another person, and we just, I don't know, why don't you do something that doesn't really matter, but whatever, it's fun and you can evolve because we like you and we like what you do around, all these different things. So write a story. And in some cases, there are some of these stories that I am very excited about for the Lost Stars-ish aspect of it. Like, there's a story, like you mentioned, Lacey, about L3, but also there's one about Ray Sloan. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Mm-hmm.
Give me Ray Sloan and what she was doing, her perspective on The Empire Strikes Back. Where was she at? What was she doing? Yes, do that. But don't give me Lando giving orders to the cook about how he has to cook for Darth Vader. Right. And what does Darth Vader even eat? Stupid. Yeah. Waste of time, doesn't matter. Not even a conversation. Every time I think about that dinner, I just obviously assume that Darth Vader didn't eat anything.
Right. They just left.
Yeah. So it's not even like an option or something that I've critically ever wondered.
Like, James, I like the idea if like a certain point of view, like the waitress at Dex's diner listened in on Obi-Wan talking to Dex, and I noticed,
or the kiss one that I said, where it's like Han and Leia talking to each other.
Well, no, I'm making one up though.
Oh,
I'm saying if they did something like that, and you get a different point of view of something that actually happened, That, to me, I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. Because then I could put myself there and be like, oh, if I was a diner eating there and heard those two talking, this is kind of what that would be like. But now,
honestly,
now they're taking these liberties where they're like changing
Maybe.
how Obi-Wan Kenobi feels about the Skywalkers after his death. That's whack.
And also, it kind of like, I think it disrespects George Lucas, because George Lucas didn't have Obi-Wan be that character. Obi-Wan was the wise old man that ultimately sacrificed his own life to see this through. So why would you then have him be there being like, yo, man, this sucks.
It just screams like a regret for everything he did with this family. Like his whole life meant no purpose. So now we're going to watch the Kenobi series. And he's
then
going
Return of the Jedi too. He like comes in and he's just like, hey, this is how it is. This is what you're learning. Like he's not standing there being like, yo, you suck, I'm out.
Yeah, we're gonna watch this really well written, in-depth Kenobi series directed by Deborah Chow. It's gonna be friggin' beautiful. Ewan McGregor's gonna put his whole heart into it, and then they're gonna be like, well, just so you know, your character hates all of this.
Ewan McGregor's gonna be like, no.
And he's gonna be like, what? I'm not. No.
Hey, I will say one thing to swing a little bit for the positive. Number one, you said if it was kind of like, a server in the Dex's diner and she kind of overhears the conversation or something like that. I actually think generally that's what the stories are.
Yes.
The problem is that they do tend to go on like, oh, she woke up one day and she went to the mall and she did this thing and you're like, I don't care about any of this. And then somewhere in the middle of the story, she like sees them standing over there and maybe overhears something, but then she goes back to what she normally does because that's the daily life in the life of a droid or what, so I think they go a little bit too off topic, but I think generally that is the idea that they're going for, is like a fly on the wall in the room, but this is the life of the fly who it happened to be on the wall that day. So it's a little bit too in depth.
I'm not slamming all 40 stories here, but
yeah, sure.
that's a big deal. And if this is canon, 39 of these stories could be the greatest short stories in Star Wars written, but the fact that one exists in this book, garbage.
The other thing to say about that really quick too, just to keep it a little positive, is that, and I know,
Hey,
I know you'll know.
I wanted to listen to that. I wanted to read that one story. I started this off with what I wanted to read.
No. I mean, what you're saying specifically,
They're gonna drag
John,
me out
is
on
that
a stake.
maybe, but again, maybe this was a bad quote to pull, and maybe the full story kind of fleshes that out a little bit. Maybe there's a line in there that he says, or did he ever really think that? No, of course not.
Then
That's
shame on
not
them for
Obi-Wan.
promoting it that way. Shame on them.
Exactly. That's what I'm going to say. If that is in fact the case, then this was a terrible quote to pull because it got us all fired up or whatever.
The end of it's
and
like
John was
the end of the end of the short story. Obi-Wan goes, but you know what? Nah, it's cool.
It was all a dream.
Yeah. But sometimes I can think of like these other stories where that have been the case. For instance, like, oh, Han Solo had a wife, or I just had like two more. Now I can't think of them. The Luke Skywalker had this vision at the beginning of the Last Jedi novelization.
Where he had a wife.
That he had a wife.
He had a wife and kids and all this stuff. And at the end of it, you read the story and it's like, it's nothing. It was like a fleeing thought. He's, and I don't know. It's just kind of, and which ties in with the book pretty well, that he has these thoughts for a moment, but then they go away and he overcomes them. But I don't know. It's just weird. Sometimes they decide to put out excerpts and stuff that just don't, like, fans read way crazy into it, and when you read it, it's like it's not even that big of a deal. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. But you're right. It doesn't sound like him at all. It doesn't sound like the character. Sounds like they got the wrong person to write him.
Let me just reiterate one more time, like, just to make sure, like, you can't make canon important and say, this is our canon now. We're cleaning the slate on canon. We're starting all new. It's gonna be all this connective story. Everything means something, and then make this canon. And then when people get upset about it, be like, "Wow, you're really overreacting. Like, it's just Star Wars, man. It's just fantasy. It's just a short story in a book. It's not a big deal." Like, you can't walk both lines. I'm sorry, can't do it. Can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So people,
which they often do. Yeah.
Yeah, can't do that. I'm sorry, won't allow it.
And also,
John is the person that decides.
I'm the spice runner right now.
And also wiping the canon to say that was all muddy and there were too many authors and they were contradicting each other and it was a big mess.
There's 80
and
stories.
Then allowing people to be like, hey, we trust you. We think you're a good writer. We want you to write Kenobi. And then like just kind of being okay with it.
I can't wait till
like, really giving them any sight for side to be like, he wouldn't say this.
From a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi, Darth Vader's body lying in the pyre burning. And he goes, well, that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
It kind of hurts.
Should have let him kill my kid.
So you're probably wondering how I got here.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe the canon
Or it'd be
and
the
the
log,
story group.
actually, that set on fire. That was a tree.
We should do a predictor for it. There's going to be like Jabba the Hutt as he's being strangled. It's like,
No, it wouldn't be that. It would be like the tree that got cut down by an Ewok that became the log that then Vader laid on top of that
it
they set
should
on
be,
fire.
but now they're like, yeah, let's make Palpatine regret everything.
I'm kidding.
Well, maybe the reason that the story and the canon and all this other stuff is getting a little bit foggy is because Pablo Hidalgo has been writing another book.
Yeah.
He is doing this book called I forget what it's called exactly. I should pull up the name here.
Fascinating
but
Facts.
That's what I thought it was, but it just seemed like okay. Never mind. Sorry. Reveals fascinating facts about the galaxy far, far away. So Pablo Hidalgo is putting together this thing that encapsulates story, lore, history, all from the greatest galaxies. He puts on the cover. And probably the most interesting thing about this book, just right away, if you're just now hearing about it for the first time, is that it's going to be full of a ton of in-universe facts while also containing actual true historical facts about the making of the movie.
Yep.
And he thinks that is probably one of the most interesting things he did with the book, because he thinks it's just as important. If you know the lore of the story, then you should know the history of how that lore was created. And as it goes across all 9 movies, it's kind of a thing that retells a lot of the stories that he feels like doesn't everybody already know this, but he feels like these are probably some of the more important facts to bring to light to people who obviously don't know it, because not everybody knows the story.
I love
perfectly.
this idea of this book. I love what they put out about it, and this next to a certain point of view, I would pick this.
You know what this is like
time.
for me? This is like Pablo being like, I'm sorry I'm not on Twitter publicly anymore. This is what
Here are
I
the
would
tweets I would have put out.
This is what I would tell you guys if I was still on Twitter. But we're doing it in a book now, and I'm going to make money off of it.
Well, this book
Which
did get a lot of
very accurate.
Yeah. So this book did get a lot of attention because they released a photo, as always, of Adam Driver as Kylo Ren with Rian Johnson. So that went kind of nuts online, because anything with Adam Driver in it always gets a lot of attention. But I'm pumped for this book. I'll definitely be getting it and reading through it, because this is the kind of stuff that I love.
Pablo knows, he knows so much about, I don't know how he retains it either. You know, it's crazy. Like, I'm sure at this point, Filoni goes to him versus him going to Filoni, you know? Like, Filoni's a good storyteller, but when it comes to like being the vault, like Leland Shee and Pablo are like, man.
The book was Fascinating Facts about Transformers, Strikeout, Star Wars.
Imagine each paragraph.
That's what's funny is he's good at multiple series too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Each paragraph is like 280 characters. He's like, this would have been a great tweet.
I definitely think there are just some people that are just like that, you know, that for some reason they hear a story and they go, cool, that's what it is. And like, because they're interested in it, they just like lock it away. And there's always going to be the chance that they're like, I can't remember exactly the details, but like they generally have this like ability to remember these things. And actually, I think you're kind of like that, John, to be honest with you, because you remember these news stories. Like you could remember stories that involve like when a director was announced or something like that, and the trades and stuff, and I'm always like, oh man, I forgot that was news.
I definitely
and
remember.
we even
behind
sat
the
here and
scenes
like
stuff.
talk an hour about it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, all the stories that we ever hear from like guests or like things that I read behind the scenes stuff, I always remember it, and then I can't remember timelines or character names.
I think when it comes to history,
Yeah,
and
when does
stuff,
Rebels take place?
Yeah, I don't know
Come on. Seriously?
I think history stuff I am good at remembering. Sometimes character names and stuff I get, especially the Chiss stuff. But
I just love movie production and video production, so I remember all that stuff a lot easier.
And I give Pablo credit. Like, I don't think he should be on Twitter. I don't think anybody from Lucasfilm should be on Twitter, and not if they want to, fine. But I'm saying, like, for their own sanity. I love the move. He blocked me. He blocked all of us, right? And then he like unblocked everyone, but he like made him think private. I applaud the move. I think he was going crazy. I don't think he deserved it. And this is like his new outlet, and I like that a lot. And I like Pablo in terms of his knowledge and stuff. If he wants to be smug and how he is with Star Wars, fine. I met him. He was very nice, very cordial. He knows his stuff, and he's very important to Star Wars. And I will probably be into this book. So I know I was very negative about the short story stuff, but I mean this thing seems pretty cool. I like this.
Yeah, give me facts all day.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but between the two books, I feel like because of the canon of it, I would have to go with the From a Certain Point of View book. Mm-hmm. But I think like on pure interest, like if I wasn't involved with Star Wars Newsnet and other things like that, I'd probably be more likely to pick up the Pablo Hidalgo one. One thing is I'm not really that interested in the history generally when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I thought it was interesting in this book because I thought while I'm leafing through, I might pick up a couple of these like short little facts and I'd be like, oh, that's cool. Because they're not like, it's not paragraphs and pages of history and then like the next 5 pages are lore. It's like little things that only take like a 5 seconds to read like 3 lines or something,
Right.
So I actually think this could actually be a pretty cool book, and it comes out like really soon too. They're gonna flip it like real fast. The last thing we want to talk about this week in Resistance Report is that StarWars.com revealed the like official opening crawl for the event that is the High Republic. I don't know exactly where this lies. Is it like in the first page of every book that is coming out or whatever? Not exactly sure on that detail, but should I read it or do we just want to say it's a couple lines that kind of basically outline the High Republic and where we're at when it gets started?
Yeah, I mean that's the gist, right? It's like
It's
a tribute,
pretty straightforward.
A tribute to the opening of the movies. Yeah.
Correct. It talks about peace. It talks about the Republic and the Jedi Knights, and then it talks about the station that is the Starlight Beacon and what it stands for as it enters into the Outer Rim. That's it.
And
basically
then something's happening. Oh,
yeah, a new adversary,
dun, dun, dun.
A frightened new adversary. So, any thoughts
Spoiler
on this,
alert,
guys, before we wrap it up?
What?
No, just it's funny that now everything. They're bringing back the crawls. Like they're like Rogue One. They're like, nah, we're good. Solo, they're like, we'll do a little crawl. We'll do a little bit of a tribute crawl. And now this, they're like, we're gonna call it a crawl. You have to read it like this, I guess. You have to go like this.
You're an idiot. For people listening at home, he just took his book and just ran it up his face.
Close to my
like
face and he runs it up. Yeah. But no, if it's called a crawl, because it crawled up the screen, this is like you call it that because it's how to identify it. It's not really a crawl.
The funny thing is I could picture John reading his computer like this. Just
the galaxy is at peace.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can do that thing with your mouse where you like click it and then you move it down a little bit.
Oh, I meant like literally
scrolls.
take his laptop and just
No,
go
I know
like
what you meant, yeah.
Oh, this is upside down. I probably look foolish holding a book upside down.
You look foolish holding a book in general, but...
The dead speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. John, you know how some people say don't skip leg day? Don't skip brain day.
Oh,
snap.
He just called you dumb. This guy wins one round of Who Are You on me, and now I'm the dopey guy. All right.
Meanwhile, I just called you an idiot like 6 times.
Oh, that
you skipped brain day.
You're the one reading the book like this. All right. That's it for Resistance Report. Lacey, what's next on the show today?
Up next, we have the Patreon Pod Race.
Ooh, love this segment.
So guys, it's time for the Patreon pod race. There's lots of ways you can support us. You can like, comment, subscribe on this video on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. You can follow us on Instagram at The Resistance Broadcast. Or if you want more content, mailings, Discord servers, etc., you can head over to patreon.com/resistancebroadcast. Starting at $2 a month, you support the show and you get all the extra content all the way up to our top tiers. So this is the segment of the show that we give our top tier, our generals, a chance to be a part of it. So we ask them a question, they give their answers, we react to it. This week, we have General Bethany. It's a rotation slot. We're really pumped. We love when extra people get to come in.
Is that 3 rotates in a row?
I know, right? So fun.
They're sharing.
They're sharing. Sharing is caring. All right. We asked Bethany, if you had the ability to use the Force, what kind of things would you do with it? Bethany, take it away.
So if I had the Force, I would probably use it to do something subtle, like create a really cool atmosphere in a cantina that I would hypothetically open up in a galaxy far, far away. I only have the name already picked out. It's Beer Fett's Barrel and Blast Cantina, no big deal. But I feel like Maz Kanata also uses the Force to create a similar atmosphere in her castle cantina, so it's definitely not out of the question. I kind of like the idea of using the Force for subtle uses. Obi-Wan. Anyway, that's my Patreon pod race. Thank you, John, James, and Lacey, for having me. And I'm going to go hunt some beers now.
Bethany, well done. Nice helmet. John, what'd you think?
I like the fact that she's using it for like an atmosphere situation. And she says subtly, which is cool. I don't know. I mean, is it subtly for using it to create a whole ambiance for your entire establishment?
You're brainwashing everyone to like your
Just
party?
Like, yeah, be cool. Everyone be cool. I don't know if that's subtle, Bethany, but I see what you mean. You're not using it for like galaxy changing reasons. But no, I like your answer. I like the idea that you're going on a bounty for some brews. So cheers. But no, great job. As always. I agree. I think I'd love to go to your establishment. What do you call it? The Beer Fett's Barrel and Blast Cantina. Sounds fun to me.
Ooh,
so I'll see you there if I get
alliteration.
my first pint for free. We'll see. But thanks for being in general. Thanks for being fun, and appreciate the pod race.
Her specialty drink would be just a helmet flipped upside down that they fill up.
Oh,
James,
gosh.
what did you think?
So this is actually funny because it is, in fact, a great answer, Bethany. I loved hearing it. However, I did spend it disappointed because I opened up the video and I started listening to it, and it is, she says, I would create an atmosphere, and I immediately was like, boom, Dr. Manhattan, Watchmen, Mars, creating life and what it means. And I just went on this huge tangent on like what the Force could do if you could manipulate so many things. And then she kept talking and I was like, oh, she just means like Arby's has a really fun atmosphere.
Arby's?
Not Arby's. I meant Applebee's. Sorry, not Arby's.
Applebee's.
No, but
Ruby
Applebee's
Tuesday,
is
though.
like... That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's like one of these like chain restaurants that is just like, it's all about the atmosphere and the fun.
Nothing
Come
like
on
putting my
down.
feet up at Arby's on a Friday evening.
Yeah. And
Beef
so
and
she's in there. She's like,
For everyone?
I wouldn't do anything like crazy. And I was like, I guess not.
Hey, where do you hang out? Me and my friends go for a half dozen of Big Montanas down at the old Arby's Friday at 8.
You guys are stuck on the Arby's thing. And I'm just thinking of people going down and hang out on Mars because I'm thinking about creating life.
Hey, where do you go? Do they have the meats? Because Arby's does.
I hate
bum,
that
bum,
saying.
bum, bum. Skrillex.
Isn't it Ving
out.
Rhames? We have
that?
the meats.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
The voice. Not sure.
Weird. The only thing I know is Arby's
thanks
has
for
those
contributing.
really good social media posts where they take the boxes from the sandwiches and they make them into stuff.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah,
oh,
so good.
good. So
Their
good.
Instagram. And
Yeah.
they like acknowledge like things like Dragon Ball a lot
Yes,
and a lot of like
anime,
underground
yeah.
like video game stuff. Yeah.
Bethany, great job. Love your helmet. Awesome answer. I need a beer. That's basically what you've made me feel like. Anyway, now we're going to head back to me for resistance transmissions. Take it away, Lacey. Thanks, Lacey.
God.
That was for John. Guys, we have a special guest coming on Thursday, so resistance transmissions are today.
Wow.
I know, your day just got amazing, right? You're just like, wow, this is the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And I'm like, yes, it is. All right, so the way this works is every week, John puts up a crazy, wacky situation on Twitter, and you guys give your answers. And I read them live on the show. I don't know what the scenario is. I don't know what you guys say. And we see what happens.
One day we're going to be like,
Why
what do
not?
you guys think of Lacey? Leave a comment.
Oh my God, if you ever did that, I would just like turn bright red and just shut my camera off.
I've never
All right.
read the situation. I don't know what it is. Here we go. What do you guys think of Lacey?
And they'd be like, we hate her.
Never. Come on.
All right, so the situation is Cobb Vanth is rocking Boba Fett's armor on Tatooine. The problem is people keep heckling him thinking he's Fett, as everyone heard that Fett, so like very specific, got owned at the pit of Carkoon. What does Vanth have to do or say to make it clear he is not, in caps, Boba Fett? Up first is More 5150 at More.
I am not in caps.
More 5150 at More
Hey,
5150. He said, take off the helmet. The end.
You know
This
what?
is basically a call out to John being like, this is a dumb scenario.
yeah.
Do people
Yes.
like Boba Fett kind of has that like
Michael,
like Han Solo, the war general, the smuggler, you know?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
people know that Boba Fett would look like clones? They might just think of him like
That's why I put it, Michael.
I love that you didn't think it was that until I just said it and you were
No,
just like,
I
yeah,
did, but he
Michael.
made a good point, and it's fair.
Up next is Silver Dragon Blade at Jetta Rosewater. Hey, Jetta.
Jetta, who claims she got perfect score on Who Are
Did
You
she?
on Thursday. She said she got 18 points.
Yeah, well, she just put in the comments 18 out of 18. I don't know if she's serious or just playing into the
If she-
joke that
if
we were
she
like,
is-
one of you guys are lying.
Then we're not doing a Patreon Who Are You, because she shows up, she's going to take everyone down.
Imagine she's like a sleeper trivia person that like could go on all these like schmodowns and everything and just wrecks everyone. Like
Yeah.
she knows more than Alex Damon.
Imagine she
The
takes
ultimate.
Alex Damon's like world championship.
And she's just like, I quit Star Wars.
She brings
No,
it to the
fu-
TRB base.
Filoni goes to Pablo Hidalgo and asks a question, and Pablo says, I don't know that. You'll have to talk to Jetta Rosewater.
Then we see like a character in canon, like Retta Joeswater or something. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
All right. She said, Cobb Vanth says, hey man, I saw the armor suit and everything with it. I just wanted to borrow it for a moment or two, then give it back to the rightful owner. It's very logical.
Very,
Hey,
very
man.
kind.
Next is Adam Odell at Odell Adam, who said, not be overrated.
Ooh,
Ooh.
man.
Need some
Stingy.
aloe vera for that burn. Kyle Hughes at Kyle Hughes 2307. I don't think Kyle's ever been on the show. Hey, Kyle.
What's up, Kyle?
Kyle.
This is just an extension of the last one.
Do literally anything. Man, if that's not like my life story, like just do something.
It's like
All right.
the surfing instructions in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Do less. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
just laying on the board. Now pop up. No, do less.
I love Paul Rudd in that movie.
Yeah.
Next is Matt Sky Haunter
I see what you did there, man.
at MIB1188. John hates the Halloween names and holiday names like with a passion. It's like one of his top pet peeves.
That's not good.
I should be Lacey Goolerin.
If
but
they ever
I'd
make
never
a
hit
book
into
of
it.
40 short stories about Halloween names, I'm going to be very upset about it.
Matt said he repaints his armor silver and starts carrying a tiny doll everywhere.
I already put tiny in caps. Little TRB nod.
A tiny doll,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not just a small doll.
Oh, sorry.
This is
a
not-
doll of Baby
Imagine
Yoda.
if it wasn't Baby Yoda, it was just a small doll. You just
Just a regular doll.
Next up is at @the_geekygator, which we found out does just like gators and is from the Northeast.
Yes.
So not what we thought, but partially right. He said, "Oh no, it's me, Cobb Vanth. You probably didn't recognize me because of my red arm." And he literally...
Nice. He did a picture.
He included a photo.
He took a picture of Boba Fett and then photoshopped an arm from C-3PO.
James is out of a job.
Yeah.
I think this is Hall of Fame. Oh my god, that is so good.
That is good.
What happened?
I made it bigger.
Yeah, he zoomed in.
Oh, I thought you erased the notes. I was like, wait, there's
No,
more in here.
Yeah. It moved to the next page.
Guys, it is so good. I love visual aspects. Okay, I'm putting this up for Hall of Fame, by the way, but we'll get back to that. Okay. And last but not least is at EP Star Wars. Ooh. And they said, "Old lady, Boba? Cobb removes the helmet. Cobb. No, Cobb Vanth. She appears skeptical. Old lady. Cobb Vanth who? Cobb looks to the distance, thinking of the journey that got him here."
Come on, Lacey. You got to get through it.
Thinking of the journey.
She's like, I want the last one to be Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
and then she can't even read this one.
It's like when Lacey gave the first episode of Mandalorian a 10, and then the second one
Yeah.
she's like, well...
Okay.
Do you want me to do it?
No.
Okay.
Cobb Vanth looks to the distance, thinking of the journey that got him here. He was no longer the same man. He now knew this place. And he said, Cobb Vanth Skywalker.
You got to read that again.
Go ahead, John.
I mean,
Go ahead,
I don't
James.
know.
You can
I mean,
read it.
obviously, I think like we get the gist of it.
The gist is that
it's-
terrible Ray Skywalker name. And they did it for Cobb Vanth.
I like Ray Skywalker, but this is funny. Cobb Vanth
Yeah.
Skywalker. Because it's not Cobb Skywalker. He kept the full name. He just had Skywalker at the end.
My favorite things is out of The Rise of Skywalker is the meme that's come out of it with Rey where she looks to the side and whatever there, she looks back to the front. Like it could be Jar Jar, whoever, and she's always just like Misa Ray Binks or something like that.
That is funny. Cobb Vanth
Oh
Skywalker.
gosh, I think both of these are Hall of Fame actually.
Yeah, they did very good on this one.
It is funny because like I can't imagine I don't know, like somebody walking by and being like, hey, who are you? And you're like, Bob. And you're like, Bob who? And they're like, Bob Smith. And you're like, oh,
Bob Vance.
yeah.
Vance
I guess I didn't really like
Bob Smith who?
the last name didn't help either.
Yeah.
You know,
Bob Vance
Yeah, I don't-
Skywalker.
I'm Ray Skywalker. All right. These two got to go in the Hall of Fame.
We'll talk about it.
No, we vote now. We vote on the show.
Well, we're doing 2 in the Hall of Fame in one
Yes,
shot?
it's been a while. I'm going 2.
I mean, yeah, why not? Whatever.
Yay, you've made it.
No, well, James, what do you think?
Oh. Now I take that back because if James says no.
I don't know. I mean, like I'm fine. I think both of them are warranted because one is hilarious and the other one is like the amount of work that went into it, like a step above.
When I read the
to
Cobb
make
Vanth
the photo and
Skywalker
stuff.
one, I laughed out loud. That was...
I didn't at all. Didn't laugh. All right, you're both in. Hooray! Congrats.
Hooray!
All right, guys,
Awesome.
if you want to be on the show, make me lose it. You can follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. It's been a while that I've laughed that hard, and I really
good.
needed it. So thank you. Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter, and John puts up a scenario, and you give your answers, and the most creative ones, ridiculous ones, usually get on. But now we're gonna go back to John.
All right. Thanks,
John?
everybody, for listening and watching and being a part of TRB. We hope you had a good time. We hope you enjoyed the show. We hope you got some laughs in there, too. Don't thrash me too hard on the comments if you're a big fan of the short stories. Just got to be honest sometimes, right? Subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your audio podcast. Subscribe there, follow there. 2 episodes
Remember
every
one
week.
time you said podcasts.
Did I? Yes. On purpose?
No, you were just saying like, oh, probably there's a place called podcast.
Yeah,
podcast.
probably is. 2 episodes every week on Mondays and Thursdays, and on the 18 days from now, on the 30th, Mando Fan Show is coming back on Friday night. So be sure to subscribe, without a doubt. Go to StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your Star Wars news, your reviews, editorials, information, and more. We're going to be doing written reviews of the episodes of Mandalorian on there too. Teespring.com/stores/Resistance Broadcast. Get your Make Solo 2 Happen pin and your other Make Solo 2 Happen gear and your other TRB gear. And especially sweatshirts. It's getting really cold up by us during the nights.
Ooh.
And our sweatshirts are very comfy. So go pick one of those up and stay warm and stay loving TRB. You guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and at Star Wars Newsnet. James?
You can find me at Twitter and Instagram at Myra Trunks.
Lacey?
You can find me, Lacey Gillerin Skywalker, at Lacey Gillerin on Twitter and Instagram.
Is it Lacey Gillerin Cobb Vanth Skywalker?
No, just Skywalker.
All right. So Thursday, we're going to be joined by Amy Rakow from 365starwars.com. So be sure to join us. We're going to be talking about the High Republic, a bunch of other stuff. We're going to be having, of course, our typical fun segments, and Amy's going to join in the fun there. So enjoy your weeks, and we'll see you Thursday morning with another episode right here on TRB Skywalker. See you around, kids. TRB Skywalker is the code word.